back to Arizona Lifestyles podcast. We're changing from Holly's housing podcast, and we want to welcome my amazing guest, Adam Dahlberg, here with 72 Sold, and one of my listing partners, Brian Nelson, one of my favorite lenders with Amera First.
Hello.
Of course, Sarah Perkins, lovely lady with Navi Title.
Hi.
So we're really excited about this because we're going to expand our listenership to teach everybody and explain to everybody why it's great to live in Arizona and why people are moving here, and some of the great stories of some of the wonderful people that we come across that moved to Arizona, and the fun we have living in Arizona. And from Sarah and I, we moved from Chicago, and we love it here.
Definitely better than where we grew up.
The Windy City. I mean, we get to wake up every day, I'd say most days, with sun. And
the sun.
Yes.
That's everything.
Right.
The sun doesn't shine in Chicago in the winter.
Right.
Or ever, really.
I mean, like June is nice and the first 2 weeks of September.
Yeah.
That's it. You get 6 weeks.
Well, I'll tell you, moving to Arizona is a big thing that we see a lot, obviously being in real estate. Moving back to Arizona is something I see just as often. So many folks that, leave for jobs, they, got out of college and they wanted to move, and they realized, man, I had it so good out there, and they end up finding their way home. I'm one of them right here, speak from experience. I left not on purpose, like I wanted to move away, but I did move away for about a year and a half in my early 20s. And boy, I kissed the ground of Sky Harbor when I got back. I'm like, oh my goodness, thank God I am home. It is so nice.
You went to a place that's like super not like Arizona.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, it was like being on a different planet.
Where did you go?
I was on a different planet. I was in, I was at the same time, same place in England. Sarah and I were both there together. Not together we didn't know each other at the time, but we happened to be
there at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, very old buildings that I was going into daily that were built before 1776
years ago.
Yeah, like just, gargoyles still guarding the thing. Streets about as wide as, a one-legged man could hop from sidewalk to sidewalk. And so it was just a very old, crumbly place where levels of things, were buried underneath other levels of things. Like if you dug down in your backyard, you might find some like Greek coins and things. So it was just a completely different thing to come back to Arizona where everything was new. We have landscaped freeways. Where else do you see that? There's not barbed wire and like spray paint. Every building is fresh and new. And if it's not, Michael Pollock just comes in and refreshes it and puts a bunch of high-end cafes and stuff in there. So, it's really a different, people don't realize like how different it is out here in Arizona compared to other places, even in our own country. Places around in the East Coast, they're older, obviously, but our weather out here allows us to maintain things that look newer, longer, I guess. Is that maybe the way it's kind of going?
Whenever I travel and we go to those old places, my kids are like, why is it so dirty here? Like, it's so
because it rains and it snows. And my wife's from Ohio. We go back there to Cleveland area, and houses are just, they're 20 years old, but they look like they're old, half torn down barns because snow and mildew and, it's just, I guess, moisture.
I took Brittany
rain.
back to where I grew up.
It's gross. And
we went and knocked on the door to where I lived, and we went in there, and the people were really nice. They let us in Chicago. And when we came out, I said, Brittany, what do you think of the house I grew up with? She goes, Mom, it was like a cottage. Because here in Arizona, it's just, we have, more land space between the houses, and it's newer. It just feels just more like palaces, I think. And also, yesterday I was on a home tour. I like home tours, Adam. Take it or leave it. And one of the tour guides was saying, Holly, she was talking to everybody, and she says, the reason I love tours is because everybody's nice. We're nice to each other. It's like being on a cruise. Everybody is nice. And when I first moved to Arizona, I felt like I was on vacation. And I do feel most people in Arizona are pretty nice because they're happier, it's sunny, and
yeah, it does give you a better attitude.
So nice here.
And houses are nice. Even like the rundown areas or older areas are much nicer than, You ever been to Philadelphia? You know what a house looks like in Philadelphia? Remember Rocky? You ever see that movie Rocky?
I've seen a lot of homes back east and in the Midwest, and it's amazing because in Arizona to find a house that's built before the 40s or 50s, there's not a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
It is a lot newer, but you'll see tons of properties for sale that were built in 1910, 1920. They're super old, in other parts of the country. And some of them are really nice, been renovated, actually are kind of cool. I kind of dig them. But then there's a lot of them that are just worthless. Take Chicago area, for instance. I know there's homes, at least a few years ago, you could buy for $5,000 to $10,000.
That was in Detroit.
Well, there's that too. And those were $2,000 to $3,000.
Yeah, that's an expensive home in Detroit.
But I mean, it is crazy to see the variance and how old some stuff is out there. And these old mega mansions and older properties have like zero value. No one wants to live in them, and they're just run down. And there's a mixed bag of things out there that if you've grown up in Arizona and just lived here, that you have no idea what's out there.
That would be kind of neat, though, to see some of that stuff. I've never been exposed. Maybe you have. But going back to like the southern states and seeing like South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia area, and seeing some of these old plantation homes. And
they're amazing.
I bet. Massive, right? They're talking, I don't know. Are they big? Who knows? They just look big from, Forrest Gump.
They can be like 20,000 feet.
That's a big house.
It's a big house.
Yeah.
Big house.
Well, and I got to add in this one thing. So the house I grew up in was built in 1892. And so it's always about the care of the property. It was in good shape. It was beautiful. And I loved it. And it's, good place to grow up. But then you talk about different parts of and it's a lot of it is just maintenance and also just the demographics of the neighborhood. My grandmother-in-law used to live in Camden, New Jersey. And if you guys have been there, it's like you can't walk outside or down the street. People just get shot a lot. I don't know. It's really, really awful. And so there were pictures of it where people would put tarps over the back of their house that fell off. And so there's a lot of it's all about maintenance. That's my story.
So you grew up in a house that was built around the same time of the OK Corral. Really? You think about Arizona history.
Oh, yeah.
And that was Tombstone, capital of Arizona. OK Corral shootout happened. I think it was in that same year, 92, 62. I don't know. I have to fact check that. But either way, around that same time think about it. You grew up in a house that was built with Wyatt Earp alive.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Really
So even
crazy.
the glass in the windows, there was so much of it that was original. And so, it was very cold. But that's kind of wild to think about of what was happening in the world at the time.
And speaking of which, with the new Arizona lifestyle direction that you're going, Holly, congratulations, by the way. Great picture. I love that. Is that out of your backyard?
No, it's something that our famous Tasha put together.
Well, it looks like, it looks like every sunset that we have here. So if you're thinking about moving to Arizona and you're looking at the screen, this is what you can encounter on a daily basis here most of the time. But for those new to Arizona, if you haven't been to Tombstone, Arizona, it's about, 2.5 hour drive, maybe 3 hour drive from Phoenix, the old capital. Totally, totally cool. Were we talking about this the other day?
Yes,
we
because
were.
I've never been and I've lived here for
I haven't
20
either.
years.
You haven't been down there? Oh my goodness. Okay, so maybe a little bit hot right now in the summer to go. But if you go down to Tombstone, Arizona, it's still a small town. And I've been down there twice. And there's people that work, to this day, they work and they live in Tombstone, not in costume. This is just how they live. And they just stopped time at 1892.
Wow.
When they got tired of building houses in Chicago because of the weather and they had tuberculosis and they wanted to get out of the cold, they came to Arizona and they started this little mining town in Tombstone. It used to be the old capital of Arizona, by the way. And they, there was tons of copper at the time and they were raising, that's how we have our 5 Cs here in Arizona. They were doing cotton and cattle and copper down there. And they developed this town. Tombstone. And to this day, they say it's still the town that's too tough to die, that won't go away. And there's people that still live and work in shops and saddle shops, and you can go down there and get a custom leather boots made and stuff. And Main Street, I forget what the name of the street is, but I'll call it Main Street for the purposes of everything. There's a name to it. It's the way that it was back in 1890s, 1880s, and even earlier than that. The same buildings, they have the same restaurants. In fact, there's one called Big Nose Kate. Big Nose Kate was obviously Wyatt Earp's girlfriend or wife at the time. I think it was it Wyatt Earp? Or no, it was Doc Holliday, one of the two. And they worked in this saloon, and there was another one called like the Birdcage, which I think was kind of more of a men's club, and some other things that are still there. But you're not allowed to drive cars down this main street. They have it blocked off. You can only take horses, you can walk, you can take covered wagons, which people still do. Go to work every day on a horse, on covered wagons. They wear chaps, they wear boots, they wear belts with real guns on them. And that is just the way that they live. They're not LARPers. That's just them down in Tombstone. So if you haven't been, take a trip down there, 2.5 hours from Phoenix, and you're going to love it. And you can spend the whole day down there. You can even stay in the old hotel.
Sounds awesome.
You go into the restaurants, there's still like bullet holes from like where the shootouts were and stuff. They're like, oh yeah, this one so-and-so was arrested. And there's a stool at one of the bars, and there's a pair of handcuffs, old school handcuffs that are still attached to the bar stool because the sheriff took the guy in to get lunch and something happened and the handcuffs are still there from 120 years ago.
How long of a drive is it from Scottsdale to Tombstone?
It's not far. It's probably about 2.5 hours.
Not bad.
Yeah. It's like going to Flagstaff, but the other direction. Totally worth it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I have to try it.
Take the kids down there. And they have, by the way, they still have the OK Corral building and the area where that was. Like OK Corral was when people would come into town, it was kind of like a parking lot for horses, right? You'd take the horse, you drop it off. There was people there that would tend to it and feed them and water the horses. And there's an alley between the building there, which was a studio. It was like a photo studio, I believe. And then there was the corral, and there was a little area there. And that's where the famous OK Corral shootout happened, which really did happen between Wyatt Earp and his brothers. And so they do, I don't know if it's daily or whatever, but they'll do kind of reenactment of that. You pay a couple bucks and you go in and they show you exactly how it happened. And yeah.
It's fun, like Rawhide used to be.
Yeah. Totally. So, welcome to Arizona. Fun stuff to do out here.
Absolutely.
So can I ask a question?
Yes.
What's a LARPer?
Oh, live action role play. You don't know what that is?
Well, no.
Yeah. You ever see those like guys that dress up like old Civil War characters and they go out and they do these like mock battles and stuff, or the medieval guys, or the Renaissance Festival? They work at the Renaissance Festival.
That's fun.
There you go.
Yeah, they're LARPers
galore.
LARPers, yeah.
Yeah.
They just live that
Is it live action?
live action role play, I think is what it stands for.
Makes sense.
Funny.
Makes sense.
It's different than the
Learn something
bronies.
new.
Yeah, it's different than bronies. Bronies are, right?
I know what that's
Kind of like LARPing, but on a weirder nature, I guess. So,
And one of our favorite topics here, of course, is always to talk about a little bit about real estate. Ryan, what's happening with the market?
Well, not a lot of change. It's a little challenging because we do see better inflation data, but the market's just not budging at the moment.
Meaning interest rates are still high.
They're still higher. The Federal Reserve is still very reserved and making comments that, although they paused on the most recent Fed meeting and did not increase rates, which was the first time in, year and a half.
10 increases.
Yeah, first time in quite a while. They did say that, there potentially will be some other increases unless they see dramatic changes in inflation data, and the economy is just super, super strong. So it's everyone needs to look at the man in the mirror. Consumers are not slowing down spending, and until they do that, we are going to stay at elevated levels.
yeah. Did they really think that by dropping those interest rates and people making a ton of equity on their homes and selling their homes for twice what they paid 3 years ago, that they were going to put that money into savings?
Yes. Yes,
Is
they
that what
did.
they were thinking?
Yes, they did.
Savings accounts went through the roof.
And then they increased. They did actually go through the roof, higher than they had been. And then with all the money that was out there and like the free money, I mean, the government did it to like save our economy, not put it on hyperdrive, which is what happened. And so the money supply just got so big, which is why inflation is hard to get down, because there's just so much money in the system still, and it's all being moved around and people like it and the government wants it back.
Yeah, it's crazy to see. I mean, prices still are so high. I saw someone post something about Five Guys burgers. Love Five Guys. It's $12 for a burger.
Mm-hmm.
So you tell me how much longer it can last, because people, I don't see being able to continue to spend $12 a burger on a regular basis before they are going to be out of money, or they're going to have racked up more debt. So it's something's got to give. It's things will get fixed. It's just going to be a little prolonged, longer time frame than what we want, and I don't see rates getting any better in the short term.
Yeah.
Well, houses, I see, keep going up in price. There's less homes on the market. It's a great time if you're a seller and you want to sell, because, I just had a client who put an offer in over a $2 million house, and there was no negotiating. None.
They just took it.
Well, they didn't go for it, but the sellers are not negotiating.
And they don't have to, because there isn't a lot on the market. So they're not competing against a lot, which is definitely true. We fell to 10,500 active listings. Our market should really have 20 to 25,000 active listings. So we don't have enough to support where we are. But here's the thing, and I know Ryan's been talking about this for a while, is when the rates come down, and prices have been going up for a while because there's nothing on the market, when rates come down, what is it going to do? It's going to create a new frenzy, because all these people who are waiting on the sidelines, who are like, oh, I'm going to wait till the rates go down. Yeah, but how much more will the prices go up by the time the rates come down? In which case, they may price themselves out of the market. There is no reason not to move forward with a purchase if you find the property that you like. And when the rates go down, great, you can refinance then, and then you have your house. Whereas, prices are already up I did the math today.
20%.
7% from the beginning of the year. And so, we're running, if you think about it, the way we're running is over a 14% appreciation for this year as an annual appreciation, which is very high for any market. And so that is going to be what's making a lot of the buyers, miss out. I wouldn't sit on the fence, even if people are afraid of the prices or the rates.
But the thing is, the sellers are not negotiating.
Yeah,
do you find that too?
It's on the buyers then.
Well, there's still, we're finding, buyers have more options now, and we're still getting multiple offers on houses that are priced appropriately. Aggressive pricing still is out there a lot longer than a well-priced home, and eventually those numbers do come down. Buyers, I think, and buyer agents definitely are more knowledgeable now than when the frenzy was happening a couple of years ago, and I think that a good buyer's agent is advising their clients not to overpay for something, even if the sellers are kind of putting their heels in the sand. So it's important as an agent that's listing a home, or as a seller that's selling a home, to be realistic. Yes, you are at the advantage right now because of lack of inventory, but buyers agents and buyers themselves, as well as appraisers, are being they're not as loose to jump the gun on something and overpay just because there's lack. There's something else that's going to come up, down the road, I think. I don't know. That's what I'm finding. I'm finding both buyers and sellers are kind of being a little bit stuck in the mud as far as not wanting to negotiate.
Now, from what I have always been told, that you find comps 6 months. Now they're going a year. Because there's not as much going on. What do you think, Sarah?
You just got to be careful when you're looking at something that closed 12 months ago, and the situation, everything, because the market was so different. I wouldn't look at closed prices. I would look at everything that goes pending, because there is movement, but you may have to do a bigger radius or go to other like properties. But I would not go back in time. I would go out further in geography to find a more similar property.
But still say 6 months.
If you can do 3, it's better.
3 is better.
Ryan, are you seeing appraisal issues right now?
Not a lot. A little more than at the beginning of the year. Some properties coming in a little bit lower, but it's not a huge variance.
Yeah.
And most of the time, buyer and seller are able to work it out so that it's still a win-win.
Mm-hmm. And I heard you say earlier today that you're seeing concessions, seller contributed concessions are lower than they were 6 months ago.
Yeah, it's tougher to get them, but it all goes back to how bad the seller wants to sell that property. And if the property is overpriced from the very beginning, most likely that's when you're going to see those seller concessions because they're just grateful to get an offer, and some people just want to move.
Yeah.
Because so far this month, 21% of closings have closed over ask.
21?
Wow.
Yeah. Last month it was 19%.
Crazy. Yeah. Well, I think that is a testament to
Lifestyle in Arizona.
lifestyle in Arizona. I think it's agents that are listing agents being better at reality as far as getting homes listed at appropriate pricing, attracting attention. With our program, with our 72 sold program, that's 100% the way that we look at things is do not sit on the market and get spoiled by overpricing your home initially. But what we're showing here you today is that if you have an appropriately priced home, there will be multiple people interested in that home, possibly multiple offers on that home. And that's when you can really kind of dig in and utilize, some sales strategy and really find out what true market value for your home is. The value of anything is worth what somebody's willing to pay. And so if we can show the advantage of this home over another home that multiple buyers are interested in, then maybe you can get a little bit of competition and get that price up to where you are very, very happy and excited and maybe exceed your expectations. But the wrong way to do it is to initially out of the gate overprice your home, because buyers are a lot more cautious now than they were a year ago. So using a little bit of strategy and getting interest in the home and putting it out there at an appropriate price initially out of the gate, so you're not wasting time and days on market, is going to be your best move. We can show you how to do that.
Agreed.
And we're always available, Adam and I and Ryan and Sarah. So please call us at 602-388-0319. And we'll always be here to answer your real estate questions. And we're really excited you joined us today. And please join us back, because we will keep it very interesting and very current with Arizona lifestyles.
And fun stuff to do this summer. I think that'll be a segment here. What are we going to do fun this summer? In fact, let's talk about it right now real quick. Let's go around the table. 4th of July plans.
No plans as of yet.
Okay, you're coming with us. We're going up to the Westin. You're going to hang out poolside in the lazy river, and it's about a 17.5-minute journey around the river. Jenny works the poolside bar, and all you do is you just throw your hand up, and she throws a nice cold beverage into it every lap. Sarah, 4th of July plans?
I don't know about the 4th yet, but I do know that I'm going to Palm Springs next week.
All right. 4th of July plans, because we're not going to be here until after the 4th, right?
That's right. I'm going on a cruise to some fun places.
Fun. What kind of cruise are we going on here?
We're going to go on a European cruise.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, that's fun.
Yeah.
I don't think they celebrate 4th of July in Europe.
But I'll let you know what it is.
Kind of skip right over that day. It goes from July 3rd to July 5th. It's kind of like the 13th floor. They try to forget that. You go to England, and you don't like it. It's not good.
Chicago doesn't have 13th floors in a lot of their older buildings.
Yeah.
I know. I've seen that.
Yeah?
Yeah, the elevators just skip it.
Right to 14?
Mm-hmm. A lot of hotels do that.
Mm-hmm. It's just
airplanes. I think there's a few airlines that don't have a 13th row either.
Huh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. True story. All right. Well, Holly, thank you for having us here.
Yeah. Thank you, my
Holly.
whole team. And we'll see you back after July 4th.